modern architecture sucks. And you don't believe me? 77% of the population agrees with me. And don't ask for my source, because that's just what Google says. And if that's not enough of a definitive answer, then look no further than this house, 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 and this house. Are any of them good looking to you? Do any of them please your eyes? The answer is no. You're supposed to say no. And if you said yes, you are insane and you do not know what architecture looks like. So you may have looked at all of those pictures and said, wow, maybe those aren't so good looking. Oh, but why aren't they so good looking? Why don't I and so many other people not like these buildings? Well, to start off answering that question, I live in a house that is a very normal looking house. And I don't know how to explain what a normal looking house looks like, but I would say a normal looking house looks something like this. That's probably along the lines of what your house looks like. And some people live in a house like this, which is the house I'm talking about today. So why don't I like it very much? I could imagine that it is very unpleasant to live in, and I imagine it does not feel comfortable in there. I feel like all those sharp lines of the modern housing and all the white walls and boxy walls of the house make you feel very uncomfortable and might make you feel even more anxious. Even Google says that modern architecture can cause anxiety. According to the University of Waterloo. There you go. Anxiety. Multiple other articles say things about this, like BBC, paramedicarchitecture.com, and Reddit. Just because of all those sharp lines and all of those white walls that make you feel you're in a void. And even if modern architecture looks simple, sometimes it can actually be very complex. It makes you feel like your brain's hurting when you look at modern architecture like that, because it's so complex and so hard to look at. I am young and small, and I've experienced only about 20% of my life so far. So how can I be 20% into my life and have such a strong opinion about modern architecture? And to answer that question, let me talk about the small subdivisions I live next to that include very bad looking houses. I'm talking about the same house over and over and over and over and over again. They all look the same, and they all have something in common, obviously, which is they all look the same. But also, they're all made with the same type of architecture. Modern architecture. And every day, every time we drive away to a different place, like you do if you live in a first world country, I always have to look at the subdivisions that line the streets that are being built by the second. I swear, a new subdivision comes up every day here, and it's a bit annoying because they never look that great. And I have to be fed this horrible style of architecture every single day, which you can imagine makes me anxious and stressed and makes my brain hurt because it's so complex, like I said earlier. And that stunts my growth. I'm actually 127 years old, and you don't even know. Anyway, let's go through the history of this thing. Pretty much a long time ago, at the end of the 1800s, there was a lot of people who said, making this classical style housing takes a lot of time because it's so detailed and intricate, and it actually, takes love to build, and actually takes heart to create. Now let's make something heartless, and let's make something easy to build. Now pretty much, people wanted something purely functional. Not something that looked good, not something that was old and made of bricks and gargoyles. They wanted something that was made of cast iron, drywall, plate glass, and reinforced concrete. And they didn't want any more buildings made of wood, brick, stone, and cast iron. None of that. None of that cool, good-looking stuff. They wanted a building made of concrete. So, they went for it because it was simple, easy to make, and it was purely functional. And there you have it. Modern architecture was born. So, to conclude, modern architecture was made because it was easy to make. Not because it looked good, not because it was good looking, not because it was pleasing to look at and good to look at, because simply it was easy to make. So, what are my thoughts in the end here? I still think the same thing. What did you think? You thought I was going to have a whole different opinion on modern architecture? No, of course not. I don't change. But what I will say is, not all modern architecture is bad. Look at the Sydney Opera House. That's modern architecture. And you know what? It doesn't even look that bad. Maybe this whole modern architecture thing was a step in the right direction. Maybe we did need change. Because they didn't want these old, stinky, putrid houses that caught fire every few years, like the Chicago fire or the London fire or the New York fire thing. They wanted things that could survive those fires and people thought looked good. Like this. And maybe now nobody thinks it looks good. It's functional at least. And that's all that matters in the architectural industry. Let's start spreading a new architectural style around. And I call it the Gothic architectural style. You like it? I think it could get pretty big in the future. Maybe modern architecture sucks.